Now that we have the basic features completed, let's look at some more advanced features of the tools that we've already used, and as well as some different tools moving forward. So I want to put a little bit of detail around the bottom of this doghouse. So I'm going to get my rectangle tool, and with my rectangle tool, I'm going to zoom in carefully. So I'm looking at the side edge of the front arc. What I want to do is I want to find the midpoint here, and the midpoint will show up once you click on the center. All right, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to move up, kind of up this face right here. And as I move up and down, you can see my dimensions moving, 1 inch, and then whatever other height I want to put here. So let's enter a height here of, or a width of 1 inch, comma, 3 inches, enter. And you get this little rectangle. And now what we want to do is, using my follow me tool, which looks like this, we're going to take this little strip and we're going to move it all the way around the drawing. So if I click on it, click and let go, and it'll start following your toolpath. And so I can pull it out, and then it'll actually let me move all the way around the drawing. The easiest way to do this is, if you look at the bottom of the drawing, you orbit up and around. Now as you're moving, you just move and just hug the edges and the corners all the way around. And it's important you're not holding your mouse here, because that'll let you orbit back and then get to the other side right here. And you want to make sure you stop it at that point for a nice simple detail to the doghouse. Now that's a pretty basic way to use the follow me tool. Let's press Control Z here and go back to our profile. Now whatever this profile is, that's the profile that's going to be wrapped all the way around. So I'm just going to change this profile just a little bit. I'm going to take a rounded arc, and I'm going to just give it a little bit of a bump like that. Not much, just a little bit. And we'll see what that looks like when I push pull it around. So I'm going to erase the midline there. And then I'm going to, again, get my follow me tool. F for the follow me tool. I'm going to click it to start it on the face. Oops, that's the wrong tool. Follow me tools here. I'm going to click and then move to the bottom and just move around. And making sure you're snapping at the end. Nice and slow. And you can see how that's just giving you a little bit more detail on that edge of the doghouse, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, now let's add a little window on the side of the doghouse so Clyde can look out in the yard and see what all his friends. Put it over here on this side, and we will start by taking a tape measure line, T for your tape measure tool, and moving it right into the center. And I was able to make sure that this dimension line that I created was in the center, because I orbited up and I looked up to this line and I found the midpoint of this line. So when I went to the midpoint here and it said my dot turns cyan, then I know that right there I'm at my midpoint. I can click, and now I'm nice in the center. And what I'm going to use that for is, I want to make my window so that it's right around the center point of this drawing. Then let's also go ahead and take with my orbit, my tool looking up at this face, I'm going to click on the bottom of this face, and I'm going to move it down, and I'm going to find another midpoint line, either on the front or the back. So now I know where the dead center is of this side of the house, and I can begin to create my window. I'm going to start with my window by making a rectangle that is with the R tool, and I'm going to click kind of over here and make my window right about this size. And if I look down at my measurements, it says it's about 2 feet 1 inches by 1 foot 4 inches. So I'm going to make this thing 2 feet, so 2 apostrophe, comma, let's do 14 quotation mark for inches, and press enter. Okay, and that's going to be my window on the side. Now what I want to do is, I want to make sure this window is in the center, and we can do that pretty easily. Let's get our select tool, click twice here, 1, 2. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my move tool, M keyboard shortcut, and I'm going to find the midpoint of this vertical, and I'm going to click on it. I'm going to move it till it snaps this dimension line right here. And then I'll find the midpoint of my horizontal line, and I'll move this over just a little bit till it snaps. And that's where I'm going to place my window. All right, now we're going to take our offset tool, or F for our offset tool. We're going to click, and we're going to move this out for right about 2 inches. You can just drop it in place and then click 2, apostrophe, enter. And that'll give us a nice frame for the window. We no longer need the guideline, so I'm going to press E for my eraser tool and erase those two, so I'm just left with my window. Now I want to make a window that has 6 panes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I want to divide this top line here into 3 different sections. So I'm going to click on the line, highlight it blue, and now I'm going to right click on the line, and I have an option to divide the line. And so if I divide the line, okay, I can see as I move my mouse, it'll change the number of line segments. Okay, so I want to move it till I have 3 line segments, and it says each segment is equal 8 inches wide. And what this is going to do is every point where there is a red dot, that's an end point of one line, the beginning of another line. That means that we can use that line to snap to and divide this square up evenly. So I'm going to click to set it to 3 segments. And now with my line tool, I'm going to carefully follow along the top line until I get to an end point. I'm going to click and put a line straight down. I'll do the same thing over here, straight down. And then I'll find my midpoint over here and move it straight over. So I have the beginnings of a window. Now sometimes when I'm working on a window like this, it gets a little confusing with your lines. It can get confusing because of the fact that you have this red background color. So sometimes if I'm drawing on a project that I've already colored, sometimes I'll just go back and I'll change that color back to something that's a little bit easier to see through. So go to my colors, and I'll just find a white, and I'll just kind of color this whole face white. It's just easier to see, and I can come back and color it later. All right, this is a good view for us. Now lastly, we want to make this look 3-dimensional. Right now it just looks 2-dimensional because they're just cartoony lines here. To make this 3-dimensional, we need to get our offset tool, and then I'm going to press F for my offset tool, and I'm going to click, and in each of these spots I'm going to bring a pane in and just make it 1 inch. So you have to set it to 1 inch. Actually, that may be too big. Let's set it to 0.5 inches, half an inch there. And then I'm going to set all of these to the same. Now, if you do it carefully and you're nice and zoomed in, you can actually infer this. So instead of typing in 0.5 inches every time we do a new picture frame, I'm going to click here and I'm going to hold my mouse. I'm going to drag it and click on that edge, and then click on that edge. And it's making these offsets all the same, which is what I want. All right, it's not going to work down here, so we're going to have to do it again and just type in 0.5 inches, and then we'll try it again here, here, until it looks just like this. Now, don't worry, it looks confusing, but it really doesn't have to be, because this is our window that's ready to become 3D. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to just turn it to the side just a little bit. And I want to get my eraser tool and carefully erase anything in here. All right. Now my push-pull tool, I'm going to push-pull the outer frame out. I'm going to make it the same as the baseboard here. So let's infer it. So you can, I think it's 2 inches, yeah, or it's 1 inch. So I'm going to move it out. I'm not going to infer out here. That makes it 1 inch. And now let's take the offset in the middle, and we'll put in half an inch, or 0.5 inches, and press enter. Okay, now that we have the window drawn, we're going to push pull it and color it. But I want to show you a little tip first. Now, if I push pull my frame right now and I pull it out to 1 inch, and I go to then color it, whatever I'm going to color it. Let's say I want to whatever color. Let's just make it a crazy red here. I now have to color 1, 2, 3, 4, all these edges, okay? And it takes a little bit of time. And we're going to run into that same problem in here because when we push pull this part, look at all those other edges we have to push pull, or color, I should say. There's an easier way to do that. So what we're going to do is we are going to color everything prior to push pulling it, okay? So let's just say we want to make my windows here, the inside frame right here, like a dark, like a gray, okay? And my outside's a gray too. Now, if I go to push pull it like this, push pull P, and bring this out 1 inch, you can see how the edges are already colored there, so I don't have to worry about coloring the individual spots, and that's mostly beneficial in here too. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to pull this out, and this come out for half an inch, 0.5 inches, and my window has 3D depth, and it almost looks done. The next thing is to add my window panes in. So we actually have a there's no window coverings. What's it under? Oh, here we go, glass and mirrors. I'm going to select the glass pattern, zoom in, and put glass on each one of my windows there. And that will allow me to make my nice window. If I'm looking to color the rest of my house, here's a neat little trick. Instead of going and finding all the different colors, you could click inside of your material here, your materials tab, and you could find the material you want in here. But if you weren't sure you had a lot of them, under the paint bucket tool, you could always go back and get your eyedropper. Your eyedropper lets you sample a material. So if I click on this material, it's going to turn me into the other side of the same material as the other side of the house, and I'll click and line it up. Just the same if I wanted to match my trim to my new windows, my new window trim, I do the same thing. I go eyedropper, let me get this tool here, and then I'm going to change this color to that one. It makes everything look uniform. So let's finish up those last couple spots underneath, and maybe we'll need Clyde's name. Clyde, one click covers the whole thing. And there's a little more detail with a window on the side of your house.